One night meant everything. In the crowded halls of Starbase Vala-9, beings from over 30 species moved about with purpose. Diplomats argued, traders bartered, soldiers stood on alert, and in the middle of it all was Mira, a tall alien. Woman with silver markings on her forehead and smooth violet skin. She belonged to the Virelians, a race known across the stars for their beauty, intellect, and a very casual approach to intimacy. To a Virelian, closeness was a moment pleasant, passing like a dance or a joke. No bonds. No expectations, just a shared experience, forgotten by morning. But then came Tom. He was a human technician average height, brown hair, quiet face. Nothing about him screamed special, and yet Mira noticed him. He didn't rush. He didn't flirt. He treated her with the same respect he gave the malfunctioning cargo lifts he repaired. Focused, honest, and calm. One night, after a diplomatic incident caused all communications to fail across the base, Mira and Tom were trapped in an engineering bay together. Power flickered. Heat failed. Cold crept in. They talked at first, just to pass the time. Then deeper. He spoke of Earth, of growing up under stars he could never touch. She spoke of her homeworld, of traditions where touch was normal. But feelings were considered weak. But Tom didn't treat emotions as weakness. He spoke of love like it was a battle, a brave thing. A choice to keep caring even when it hurt. Myra had never heard someone speak like that. They sat close for warmth, and eventually she kissed him. Just a moment, she thought. A shared touch, casual, like her kind always did. But Tom didn't take it that way. The next morning, when systems returned and the doors unlocked, Tom didn't just walk away. He looked at her like something had changed. Like that kiss meant something. And for the first time in Myra's life, she didn't know what to say. She tried to laugh it off, tried to act normal. But Tom's eyes stayed gentle. He didn't push her. He just said, "Take your time. I know. It means something to me." Those words echoed in her head for days. The other Virelians whispered behind her back. Why is she still talking to that human? They don't understand how things work. He'll only get hurt. But Myra wasn't so sure anymore. Why did her chest tighten when she saw Tom across the corridor? Why did she feel nervous before their conversations? Why, when another Virelian offered her the same casual attention she once enjoyed, did she find herself turning away? Something had shifted, not in Tom. In her, and that terrified her more than any war, any enemy, or any council judgment. Because for the first time in her life, Mira didn't want a moment. She wanted meaning. He waited while she struggled. Mira kept her distance, not because she didn't want to see Tom, but because every time she did, something stirred in her chest. Something unfamiliar. Something that made her feel vulnerable, and Virelians hated that feeling. She tried to focus on her duties. She attended council meetings, oversaw supply transfers, and even went to the recreation deck to clear her mind. But everywhere she went, Tom seemed to be there, never too close, never asking anything, just present. Always calm, always gentle, always real. He never brought up what happened in the engineering bay. He just smiled when their eyes met. And every time he did, Mira felt her heart flutter another thing she didn't understand. Virelians weren't built for this kind of confusion. Her friend Lena noticed her silence one evening and asked, "Still thinking about the human?" Mira didn't answer. Lena laughed. "You're acting like a human yourself. You touched lips, and now you're acting like you bonded for life." "It wasn't just that," Mira whispered. Lena blinked. "It's never more than that. We don't do what they do. All that clinging, all that heartache." Mira nodded, but deep down she disagreed. Maybe they should. That night, she walked past Tom's workstation. He was repairing a damaged wall panel, his sleeves rolled up, tools scattered around him. He looked up and saw her, but didn't say anything. He just offered a soft smile and went back to work. That smile burned into her thoughts. Later, she sat on her bed, holding her communicator. She typed a message to him, deleted it, wrote it again, deleted it again. After the fourth try, she finally sent it. "Do you have time to meet tomorrow?" His reply came quickly. "Any time. Just tell me where." Mira stared at his words for a long moment, then typed, "Observation deck, 19th hour." When they met the next evening, the stars were shining through the transparent wall above them. She stood there first, arms crossed, pretending to enjoy the view. But really, she was listening for his footsteps. Tom arrived quietly, standing beside her without speaking. The silence was comfortable, until Myra broke it. "I don't know how to feel," she admitted. "You don't have to explain anything." He said, "I'm not asking for more." "But that's the problem," she said. "You didn't ask for more. And yet, it feels like I owe you something. Like I took something from you when I didn't mean to." Tom shook his head slowly. "You didn't take anything. You gave something." That made her look at him. He continued, "Back in the Bay, you made a choice. Maybe it meant something different to you. But to me, it wasn't casual. It mattered, because you matter." Those words cut through her like a blade, sharp but warm. "Real." Her voice shook. "I don't know how to be this way." "You don't have to be anything," he said. "Just be honest." She hesitated, then took his hand. A simple act so small, yet so massive, sent a wave of emotion through her. She was choosing it. Not out of habit, not out of species behavior, but out of her own will. "I'm scared," she said. "I know," he replied, squeezing her hand. "I am too." They stood like that, hand in hand with galaxies spinning above them. For once, Mira didn't feel like she had to run. For once, she wanted to stay. When touch has meaning. The next few days felt different. Myra no longer avoided Tom. She no longer hid behind her rank or her traditions. Still, she didn't know what to call what was growing between them. It wasn't friendship. It wasn't just interest. It was something deeper and heavier. For Tom, it was simple, he was falling for her. But for Myra, it was like learning a new language with no teacher. She had always been confident, always in control. Now she second-guessed everything, every look, every word, every heartbeat. One evening, Tom invited her to the old Earth-style cafe on Deck 7. It was a quiet place, filled with warm lights, old music, and the soft hum of machines brewing coffee. She had never tried coffee before. "This smells strange," she said, sniffing the mug. "You'll hate it," Tom chuckled. "But it'll grow on you." She took a sip and coughed. "This tastes like burnt soil," he laughed. "Told you." But she smiled too. And for the first time in days, she laughed with him. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to. Tom looked at her with calm eyes and asked softly, "Do your people really feel nothing when they get close to someone?" She looked down at her mug, thinking, "They don't at it." Showing feelings is seen as weakness. Desire is normal. Love is primitive. "But you're not like them," he said gently. "I didn't think I was different," she said. "Not until I met you." He didn't say anything. He just watched her carefully. She reached across the table, slowly, placing her hand on his. Her skin was cool, his warm. Their fingers linked like puzzle pieces. "I think I'm starting to feel what you feel," she whispered. Tom didn't move. "Then you don't need to rush. Just let it be real." But reality hit the next morning. A message arrived from the Verilian High Council. Mira had been summoned back to her homeworld. Immediately, the council had learned of her closeness with a human. That kind of connection was frowned. A pawn even for someone of Myra's status. When Tom found her packing, he stood at the doorway. Confused. You're leaving? They're demanding I return, she said quietly. It's political now. But this isn't politics. No, she said, holding back her voice. This is personal. Which is why it's dangerous. Tom stepped forward. I don't want to lose you. I never planned to stay, she said, eyes moist. But I didn't expect you. He stood silent. Her hand trembled as she placed something in his palm, a thin silver ring with small alien symbols etched into it. It's not a promise, she said, voice soft. It's a memory of the first person who made me feel real. He closed his hand around it. I don't care about the rules, he said. I'll wait. You shouldn't, she said, turning away. But I hope you do. That evening, the shuttle left. Tom stood by the viewport, watching the lights fade into the stars. He didn't cry. He didn't break, but he held the ring in his fist, as if it was the only real thing left in the galaxy. Asterisk. The Council's cold judgment. Asterisk. Mira's homeworld was beautiful, but distant, cold in its ways. Towering crystal cities shimmered under violet skies, and the air carried a sweet metallic scent. Everything was clean, perfect, and controlled. She had once been proud to serve the High Council. Now, standing in front of them, she felt small. The council chamber was silent. 11 elders in long silver robes stared down at her from raised seats. Their eyes were calm, but sharp like ice that hadn't melted in centuries. The eldest, a woman named Velma, finally spoke. Commander Myra, we received reports of your attachment to a human. It wasn't against protocol, Myra replied. There are no laws against emotional bonds. Velma's voice remained level. No laws. But we do not form such attachments with lesser species. Myra's eyes narrowed. Lesser? Humans are not weak. Another elder spoke, shaking his head. They are emotionally unstable, violent, and worse. They treat love like a sacred bond, binding themselves with feelings they can't control. Mira clenched her hands. They treat it like something precious, something we pretend doesn't exist. A long silence followed. Then Velma said, You will end this, publicly. You will state that it was a misunderstood interaction, nothing more. Mira stared at them in disbelief. You want me to lie? You will protect the image of our people, Velma said coldly. Or lose your rank. The word struck harder than any weapon. Her whole life, she had worked for this. To rise. To serve. To be respected. But now, she didn't care about respect anymore. That night, alone in her chamber, she looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, Tom was still waiting. Maybe foolishly. Maybe with hope. She opened her communicator. She hovered over his name and hesitated. Would calling him bring trouble? Would the council be watching? She pressed record and whispered, I'm sorry. I can't speak freely, but I miss the cafe. I miss the smell of burnt soil and the way you look at me like I'm more than just who I was made to be. Then she paused. I never understood why your kind bonds so deeply, why you suffer so much just to feel something real. But now I do, because without you, I don't feel like myself. She saved the message, but didn't send it. Not yet. Back on Starbase Vala 9, Tom still came. To the cafe, he ordered 2 mugs, one for himself, and one he left untouched. Staff stopped asking why. He didn't try to move on. Others tried talking to him, but he always returned to the quiet, to the ring Mira gave him. One evening, while staring into the stars, he whispered, I hope you're still out there. I hope you're still you. On Myra's world, the council announced her reassignment. No command, no honors. She was given a quiet role overseeing data archives on a far-off moon. It was punishment without shame. But still punishment. She packed her bags in silence. But before she left, she took one last risk. Late at night, when the council's eyes were elsewhere, she activated a secure signal 1 used only in emergencies. It would bypass monitoring. She typed, "I don't care about their rules anymore. If you're still waiting, I'm coming back." She hit send. For the first time in weeks, she smiled. Return without permission. The message reached Tom just after midnight. He had been asleep, curled in the corner of his small cabin with the silver ring resting on his chest. When the unit blinked, he sat up instantly, heart racing. He read her words once, and again. His hands trembled. She was coming back, not because of orders, not for duty. She was choosing him. The next day, he returned to work like normal, but something was different. The others noticed it in his smile, in the way he moved, like a weight had been lifted. No one asked questions. They had heard the rumors. The human technician had touched a Varelian's heart, and she had chosen not to forget. Far from the center of power, Mira landed quietly on a cargo transport bound for Valinine. She wore no formal uniform, no council badge, just a long coat and the steady resolve of someone who had finally broken free of chains no one could see. The stars felt different now, not distant or silent, but full of paths leading back to him. When she stepped onto the space stations landing platform, the air felt colder than she remembered. Lights buzzed, engines hummed, but all she heard was the beat of her own heart. She didn't send a message ahead. She wanted to see his face. She walked through familiar halls, passing aliens of every kind. Some nodded in recognition. Others whispered when they saw her face. A few even stopped in shock, but she didn't pause. Not until she reached the cafe. Tom wasn't there. Only one mug sat on the table, hers, still full, still untouched. She smiled softly and sat down, waiting. Tom had gone to engineering to fix a broken panel. He didn't know she'd already arrived. As he tightened bolts on the wall, someone ran in, nearly breathless. "Tom, she's back. She's here." He didn't need to ask who. He dropped his tools and ran. Mira stood up when she saw him approach. His hair was messy, shirt stained with grease, but his eyes were exactly the same. Kind, steady, full of something people still struggled to name. He slowed as he neared her. "You really came back." She nodded, without permission, without rank, but with something more important. He took a step closer. "Are you sure?" "No," she said, "but I want to be sure, with you." He reached out. She didn't flinch. Their hands met just like before, but now there was no confusion. No doubt. Only choice. Mira leaned forward, gently pressing her forehead to his. "This isn't the moment anymore," Tom whispered. "It never was." Around them no one spoke. The Varelian woman who had once believed in nothing permanent was holding a human like he was the only solid thing left in her world. And maybe, for the first time in Varelian history, love wasn't weakness. It was truth. They sat together under the stars again, on the same observation deck, where everything began. "I lost everything," she said. Tom looked at her. "You didn't lose me." And when she leaned against him, warm and steady, Mira realized she had gained more than she ever thought possible. Not a title, not a command, but a reason to feel. Asterisk. The whisper that shook two worlds. Asterisk. For a few weeks. It felt like peace. Mara stayed on Valinine, living quietly with Tom. She helped in the research labs, assisted alien visitors, and slowly adapted to life without rank or council orders. But rumors had spread. Some Varelians whispered that Mira had betrayed her kind. Others saw her as a silent rebel, someone who had chosen truth over image. The human side of the station admired her more with each passing day. But the Verilian Council was not done. One morning, while Mira and Tom were walking through the station gardens, a formal message arrived. It wasn't just from the Verilian High Council. It was from the Interspecies Cultural Tribunal. Mira was summoned to a public hearing, not for punishment, for clarity. The galaxy had noticed the bond she had formed with a human, and now the tribunal wanted to question it. Was it genuine? Was it dangerous? Was this the beginning of something new or something to be feared? Myra stood frozen, rereading the message. Tom asked gently, "Do you want to go?" She looked up at him. "I don't have a choice, but this time I won't hide." The tribunal was held on Station Huran, a neutral space surrounded by ships from over 50 different species. Journalists, officials, and delegates gathered in a grand hall, shaped like a giant circle. Transparent walls allowed the stars to shine down. Mira stood in the center, Tom at her side. Both wore plain clothing. No uniforms. No medals. Only each other. A tall, green-skinned arbiter from the Zilari began the questioning. "You, Myra Avoy, Verilian kind, are accused of forming an emotional and physical bond with a human. Is this true?" She nodded once. "It is." "Did you do this knowing your culture treats intimacy as casual and temporary?" "Yes." "Then why is this human different?" Mira looked at Tom. Her voice was steady. "Because when I touched him, something changed. Not in him. In me. He didn't ask for anything. He didn't take anything. He just stayed. He made me feel that I mattered not for what I am, but for who I chose to become." The arbiter tilted their head. "And you, human Tom of Earth, why did you accept the bond?" Tom smiled slightly. "I didn't accept it. I fell into it." Mira is strong, smart, and bold. But more than that, she listened. She cared, even when it scared her. A murmur spread through the chamber. A Verilian delegate stood up. "This is reckless. Our kind is being dragged into human madness. Next they'll want marriage, lifelong vows, even—" Mira cut in, her voice rising. "Maybe that madness is what we need. We spend our lives acting like nothing matters. But maybe something should." The chamber fell silent. Mira stepped forward, her voice soft now. "I used to think love was weakness, that holding on meant losing yourself. But I didn't lose anything. I found something. Something real. And if that makes me a traitor to tradition, then so be it." The arbiter studied her for a long moment and nodded slowly. "This tribunal does not pass judgment today. We only witness. Let it be recorded across the stars. This is the first open bond between human and Verilian, based not on trade, command, or politics, but choice." Gasps, murmurs, whispers from every side. Some were angry, some curious, but many were moved. That night, Myra and Tom stood on the balcony of their guest room, overlooking the bright rings of Station Huron. "You just challenged half the galaxy," Tom said with a smile. Mira leaned into him. "Then I hope the other half is listening." When the heart leads the future. Weeks passed after the tribunal. Mira and Tom returned to Starbase Valinine, but everything had changed. Not just between them, but across the galaxy. Word of their bond had spread, and with it, a quiet revolution had begun. Some mocked it, others feared it, but many were inspired. On distant planets, young Verilians began asking questions there elders didn't like. Questions about meaning, about connection, about feelings. One Verilian couple officially registered their bond with humans on a neutral colony, not as a moment, but as a choice. It had begun. Mira and Tom continued living in peace, not without stares, not without comments. But the looks no longer mattered. Because now When Myra walked through the station, she walked beside him head high, hand in his dot one afternoon. As they watched ships come and go, Myra turned to him and said something simple. "I never thought I would want to stay in one place." Tom smiled. "And now?" She nodded. "Now, I think the place is wherever you are." He reached into his jacket and pulled something out, a small necklace, holding the silver ring she had once given him. "It never left me," he said. Myra took it gently, slipping it around her neck. "And it's time I carry it again." They didn't speak more. They didn't need to. Back on the Verilian homeworld, the council met in silence. The youngest of them, a newly promoted speaker, brought up a proposal. "To rewrite our approach," she said, "not to copy humans, but to understand why they hold love so closely." The elders didn't reply immediately, but for the first time, no one laughed. The stone that Myra had thrown into the quiet waters of tradition had made ripples, and now the ripples were growing. One evening, Tom and Myra were invited to speak at a new alliance gathering between species. The topic, Understanding Across the Heart. Myra stood before hundreds, her voice steady but warm. "I was taught to treat intimacy like a tool, a brief thing, a habit. But when I met a human, I realized connection isn't weakness. It's strength, not the kind you show with weapons, but the kind that makes you stay when it's easier to walk away." She turned to Tom, who stood beside her with quiet pride. "Humans love fully, fiercely, foolishly, some might say. But it's that foolishness that gives them courage. And maybe we could all use a little of that." The room gave a soft applause. Not thunderous but real. That night, under the observation deck, Myra leaned her head against Tom's shoulder. "I used to think love meant losing myself." "And now?" he asked softly. She smiled. "Now, I know love means finding someone who sees who you really are and stays anyway." Tom didn't answer. He just held her close like she was home. And maybe, in a galaxy full of stars, silence like that meant more than any language ever could. Asterisk, asterisk.